Our new sponsor, Better, is a fast growing daily fantasy sports app. Sign up today with promo code Playbook to receive two $100 no sweat tokens for a limited time only. Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you? Nice midday pod. I'm drinking coffee today.
An earlier one today, which is nice. Kind of awake. Yeah, I'm drinking coffee, or I drank coffee too. Spilled half of it on myself, but that's okay. We're here.
Hopefully not on that nice white jersey.
No, that's safe forever. Pistons jersey gotta be safe.
That's right.
The joggers, I don't know. That's another story. But yeah, we're back. This is a quicker turnaround than we've had in the last couple months, I would say. One of our quicker ones. But we're here to talk about the draft. Here to talk about this Giannis trade. We're still on Giannis watch. We'll forever be in Giannis watch. As much as I said in the past that I'm done with Giannis after the trade deadline, he pulled me right back in, and I'm back watching where Giannis is going to go. So we'll talk about that, and talk about some of the other trades that happened around the league since then. But yeah, how have you been in the last couple of days? What have your thoughts have been on the stuff that's dropped?
Yeah, it's funny because so we're back because of the trade deadline, and my thoughts, because there's so many rumors flying around, like this could happen, that could happen, this trade could happen, these guys want to do this, and you're going through the weekend and you're updating, be it like MLB trade rumors or MLB trade rumors, hoops rumors, or Bleacher Report, whatever you use, right? And you're just updating and you're looking for the news, and it's just posturing because the deadline will be tomorrow for the draft. For any draft oriented move, it will be tomorrow, and they're going to run it right up to the deadline to try and maximize leverage. And it's understandable, but in like the news forward world we live in, it's kind of frustrating because you just
it could get frustrating. It can get exhausting, and I think to that point, I think we get a lot of like these little rumors just to like keep us appeased until something really happens, and it puts us all in the cycle over and over again. Even if not much is said in any of these rumors, like it hasn't been much new information. Speaking on like Giannis specifically, we've known for a long time now that's going to be between Heat and Boston. Like that's just been what it's been. No other teams, like they'll sure like a Minnesota will sniff around, but we knew Giannis was only going to sign out east to a team he felt like he can contend with, or a place where he felt comfortable bringing his family to. Like that has not changed. So we knew these two teams were probably likely to be there. So like all these new updates aren't really telling us much until an actual trade happens. but because we're so thirsty for news, it's gonna feel like end of the world every time something comes down. I guess we could start there though. So today Shams came out and reported that it's going to be between Boston and Miami, and a deal should be done before the draft, as both packages do require the Bucks selecting in this upcoming lottery. Either they'll select twice in the lottery with their 10th pick and Miami's 13th pick, or they'll be picking later on in the draft at the 27th pick for Boston's package. So the two rumored packages, since Shams also did note that this might be just a 1v1 trade instead of it being opened up to multi-team trade, because I do know on the Heat side that there were like Pistons offers for Tyler that they're hoping to extend into the trade so that they can get more assets for the Bucks. Lakers were sniffing around where as well. So there's ways that Miami was looking to bring this trade into like a 3 to 5 team trade. But if this is a 1v1 trade and Bucks making decisions afterwards, then what we're looking at from Miami would be the typical Tyler, Warren, Hami plus 3 picks and swaps. Of course, like a Jovic, if they would want it, or a Pele Larson probably would be like a sweetener, or a Cass as well would be like a sweetener to the Bucks if they wanted more from the Heat. But that's what your basis from a Heat deal. And then from Boston's perspective, you're looking at Jalen. Hugo Gonzalez apparently seems to be the guy that Bucks like, and the 27th pick this year and a future first as well. And then you have Jalen's contract, who later on you can look to unload, I guess. Look to get more from him. At this point, I don't think there's many teams looking at Jaylen Brown, but maybe down the line when teams are getting desperate, down the trade deadline, when a team really wants to make that push, they might be more willing to go for a Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's fair. That's a lot of That's the Bucks saying we want, like, if they're gonna go with the Celtics package, they're saying we still want to be a playoff team next year. That we're gonna skip any type of development year. We're not gonna tear down the rest of it. We're not gonna look to move Miles Turner or Bobby Portis. And we're gonna try and compete with like Jaylen Brown, Ryan Rollins, Turner, and whoever we get in the in the draft. And I don't know if like the Bucks are good enough to do that, right? Like I think that was one of the problems this year with Giannis is that the supporting cast of the team just isn't there. The depth just isn't there. And you're just kind of like kicking it down the road with a less, like, I like Jaylen Brown. I like Jaylen Brown a lot, actually. But he doesn't have that cachet that a Giannis
It's not
does.
Giannis.
So,
Yeah, he's not Giannis.
yeah, your next Jaylen Brown trade isn't gonna get you 5 picks. Like, by the sounds of it, Miami's offering 5 picks and pick swaps with the upcoming, like,
yeah, they'll control
right to pick swaps with the new draft stuff could be super valuable.
Yeah, they'll be able to control Miami's draft situation for quite some time. And you know, if you're looking at Giannis being older and with his recent injury history, maybe that's something that you're like, okay, we can take a gamble on this, and it might work out in our favor. Because even if the Heat lose Giannis, they probably still end up being in that play-in situation because they just find their way in there regardless. And the new draft lottery reform, that kind of benefit the Bucks because then you're looking at a team that has higher odds to get a good lottery pick for being a play-in team. So yeah, you have to look at it from both those ways. What it does sound like too as well, like I'm more so on that side too. Like I know I'm more of a Miami Heat slated person, so my opinion can come off as biased at times. But if I'm looking at the two, from what it sounds like is that the Jalen offer is something that ownership wants. They want a star player in. They want someone that they can say we swapped Giannis for this player that is known. They're not here to look down the line and say we might be able to develop one of these guys into that star player who will be a moneymaker for us. Like maybe Tyler because of the Milwaukee connection, but you don't know. It's all hypothetical to an ownership group. To the people in the basketball stratosphere, yeah, sure, they know what these players can provide, but to an ownership group, they're just looking at what can make them money in the present day. So yeah, that's what it sounds like that's the debate going on right now with Milwaukee. It feels like the GMs would prefer the Miami package because it gives them more flexibility, more things to do in the future. They have many avenues of which they can go with that route, versus the ownership group wanting someone that's more of a name draw that can help maintain their their financial stability as an organization. But at the same time, I see with this Jalen trade, you're going to be paying Jalen a ton of money, Miles Turner a lot of money, and you're still paying Dame. I think it's around 300 million you'll be paying for 3 guys right now. You'll be looking to unload Portis Jr. and Kyle Kuzma, which helps that financial situation. But in terms of building a contender off of that, you're still going to be very limited if you're saying that you still want to contend with Jaylen Brown.
So there's a couple of things that you've said and identified. So okay, so the trade might be 1v1 before the draft, right? So we've seen this a lot where the actual trade is like not finalized right away. So for example, if the trade is expanded, say it's Miami's trade and it's expanded to Detroit, Miami might be the one picking at 13 on behalf of the Bucks.
Yeah.
But the trade won't actually go through for a few days until it's fully expanded. So there is still that kind of possibility behind it. And I think I forgot all about the Dame stretch. And you know, like we've seen so many of these modern teams that have built themselves up through asset accumulation, being patient, and just like continuing to build assets out. And if you're hamstrung with your cap because you've stretched a former superstar, I kind of think you do want to take the slower, more development route. I think you want to take more picks, more prospects, more guys that you can turn over into future picks and future prospects and build it out slowly. Like, we'll get into the draft, but there's a lot of talk that Milwaukee Bucks are interested in the forward wing, Nate Ament, right? And a lot of the people around the draft are saying, yeah, Nate could be something special, but he's going to need development time. Like this guy's probably one of the bigger projects in the first half of the draft, right? So, if you're looking to contend, why are you so attached to the project pick? Why aren't you attached to the 24-year-old hard-nosed forward of like Yaxel Lenenberg kind of thing?
Yeah, which I think is lending to the idea that this is ownership versus the GMs. I think the GMs have, from what we've heard in like the last couple of days, I think from like Windhorst reported that they're operating as if they're going to have two picks in that 10 to 15 range. That's the way that the Bucks have been operating. I think that's just the GMs doing their due diligence of like, okay, if we do have Miami's pick, this is what we want to work with here. But they would only, like to your point, they're only going to be looking at like a guy like Nate if they're going to get two picks, and they could not waste, but they can spend one on someone who's more of a future development project. So I really do think this is coming down to like what ownership wants, what GMs want. I think usually in these situations the ownerships win. Like usually they just tend to win out. Unless you have a GM.
I think in most any corporate situation, ownership wins.
The ownership usually wins. Like just how the world kind of works. So it's really up to the GMs at this point, or the front office at this point, to really convince, I think, the ownership that, look, for the long run, this is what will work better. You might not see instant returns now, but you can see higher returns in the future, and that's a tough sell, but that's the sell that they have to do. And I think with the Bucks' ownership situation as well, is that they have owners that they rotate their owners or some situation like that. So I think in 2 years it's a different ownership group. So that also plays into the factor too. It's like someone might want something that's going to benefit them right now, since they're not going to be around for whatever it turns into as well. So I think it's a lot of interesting things going on with that the Giannis situation.
Yeah, and that's fair, right? And I know there's reporting that like it's going to get done today, but I could still see it stretching right up to the beginning of the draft. And I know there's the report that it's going to be Boston or Miami, and I'm still not convinced that a sneaky third team gets in there, right? Like, what if Detroit pushes all in, right? What if they trade Duren, Ron Holland and their Thompson, right? Like, for Giannis, and then you've got Cade and Giannis, and he's still in the East.
Yeah, he's still in the East. He's still on a competitive team.
Back, right? Yeah.
I wonder about the mystery team, because Giannis he has to basically tell the team that he's going to extend with them for them to want to waste anything on.
I'm a Toronto Raptors fan. Sometimes you just go for it.
Yeah,
and let's be honest, like Kawhi is basically the only star who's done the one and done. Generally
usually, they come to the environment, they're like, oh, this isn't too bad.
Yeah. I bought a nice house here. Yeah. My kids are in a good school. Maybe it's not so bad, right? Yeah. Cade Cunningham's a funny guy. I like being around him.
Yeah, we're winning. Winning helps too. Like, you're on Detroit, you're their number one seed last year. Even if they got a lot of their roster, you still, at the end of the day, you're gonna have Cade, you're gonna have Giannis, and you'll find shooting. You'll find shooting to put around
100%.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much. Just get Giannis, figure it out later. But 100%. Like, and maybe then you can convince the agent to talk to Giannis and be like, look, this is a good situation. They're bickering over there about Boston and Miami, and it's just too complicated. This is simple. Let's just go with this. And we'll worry about your future later. You can still have your house in Milwaukee or wherever you want. You can have a second house in Miami. Do whatever you wish. But like for basketball reasons, then this isn't a bad one for you.
Absolutely. So I don't know. It's the NBA's days of our lives just stretches on, and Giannis continues to be our main character.
Oh man, until it's next year, it'll be Giannis.
Okay.
And Jokic.
Okay.
Has Jokic hasn't signed his extension either as yet? I don't think either. He'll be
not yet. All right. So as a Heat fan, would you rather have a Giannis, an Ant, or a Jokic? Like which would you actually want to push all the chips in for? Say all three are available right now.
Personally, me, it would be Ant based off the age,
Yeah.
based on play style,
Yeah.
based on potential. Jokic would be my second, and Giannis would be third. Because Jokic and Giannis is kind of in the same realm of like age and all that type of stuff. Both are
Mhm.
former MVPs. Both are top 5 players. Jokic tends to be a little more healthier, so I'd prefer Jokic. Jokic and Bam pairing is also unreal if you're doing that.
That's yeah, that's kind of scary actually.
I think that's a 2020, but Jokic is like a free agent. I think he's 2027 free agent as well. So like he needs to sign.
Mhm.
So that could be a thing. But I doubt Denver ever lets that guy get to free agency. Like that would be crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably go Ant, Jokic, Giannis in that order. Which to me is why it's not the end of the world if you're a Heat fan. If this goes to Boston, you kept your assets. You know that teams are now willing to trade for Tyler. You know you can get something for Tyler. I think you still go through with that. You could look at like a Jaw still. You can look at like a Kawhi still. Like you still have other options to pivot to. If this is early
Yeah.
in the offseason versus it being in a week before training camp, which is when the KD's news hit for you, when the Dame news hit for you, was like right before training camp, so you had not as much time to pivot. Now you have the whole offseason to make a whole new plan. So I think for the Heat, like you did all you could to try and get Giannis in this situation. You could have done more by managing your assets better in the past, but we're here now. This is what you have to work with. You don't get Giannis, you move on to the next target. And I think you're in a much better situation now than you were a year or two ago when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And even the Heat are up against that GM versus ownership thing. Like, yes, you could have just been, eyes forward on Giannis, just accumulating picks and prospects and other types of assets for the day. But you got to compete along the way, right? They want to go to the playoffs. They want to sell jerseys. They want to sell VIP suites, and if you're just in that rebuild mode forever, it gets kind of tough on ownership. You got to have like really deep pocketed ownership who love to lose money.
Yeah, and they're patient, and they're absolutely patient,
Yeah.
and they could share the vision with you, which is it's not easy. It's not easy. Only certain organizations can go through that for so long. You see even Washington making trades for like Anthony Davis and Trae Young. Why? Because they don't want to bottom
Yeah.
out no more. They're tired of it. They're tired of it.
Yeah.
They've been drafting and drafting and it hasn't done nothing for them. So let's go out and get some real players that we know can impact winning right away. Yeah, I think that's good on Giannis until we hear an actual
Something. Yeah.
trade go down. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe never. Maybe he resigns. I saw on one of these maybe it was Polymarket or one of these predictive markets. The options were Miami, Boston, or stays with Milwaukee / retires. And I'm rooting for retirement.
Just rooting for he comes to Miami, but he's not playing basketball.
No, he's not playing basketball. He's just there to retire, as they said Jimmy was once upon a time. But yeah, we had trades that actually did happen. So OKC does trade Aaron Wiggins to Atlanta for 2 second-round picks. First thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a steal by Atlanta. 2 second-round picks for Aaron Wiggins, I think is a great price to pay. Especially because people are a little bit, really kind of depends. I didn't see what years the seconds were, but it kind of depends because of the new NIL format that the second round, you're not going to have like the young guys who might pop so much anymore. Those guys are all going to go back to school. You're going to end up having the older guys who are aging out of college. So there's going to be like a little bit of certainty with those players, but you're not going to have the high upside swings anymore. And so really the second round picks aren't almost what they used to be. So I thought it was like a really good price to bring in. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Wiggins is close to like a 40% career 3-point shooter. He can play anywhere from the 2 to the 4. Like, he's super undersized at the 4, but like he plays hard. He's on a decent contract. like that's a really good rotation player. That's a really good rotation player for 2 second-round picks. And OKC has to do it because they're terrified of that second cap. They have so many guys, so many assets. Even in this draft, they have a ton of assets. So like there's a lot of talk that like OKC is looking to bundle a bunch of stuff together and go like big fish hunting. And this is why I'm surprised they're not more in on these like Giannis talks. They're not more in on talks for one of these superstars that's just going to cost a lot. Mostly because they have
stuff to give.
It's like weird. It's like they have too much money at the moment in a way, and they have to spend it. It's like you're a city contractor, and if you don't use the budget, you won't get this much budget next time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to go out and spend all these assets. But they're still slow playing it, and OKC is smarter than I am. So let's just
every year I feel like every year we're just like, they got to spend some of these assets. They got to spend some of this. They can't pay everybody. And they just keep kicking it down the line.
They get more assets.
And they just get more. They're like, no, we'll take more picks instead. We'll go the opposite way. But yeah, I like you, like, are they going to finally trade some of these stuff for Alari marketing? Are they going to finally, are they going to do any of this stuff that, can, but I feel like they're looking at it now as like, they're using, like you said, they're using these picks to move up in current drafts. So they might bundle picks to currently move up, and then they only have to pay one of these guys at a rookie scale versus having to go out and pay a lot for a superstar. And then you have this guy for like 2 to 3 years under a decent contract, and then you could decide, okay, are we going to keep him or are we going to trade him, like they did with Josh Giddey, or players like that. And then I think that's the route that they tend to go, just because it's cheaper, and then you could pay Shea, Chet, and J-Dub for as long as you can, as long as you keep shuffling around like these rookie contract role player guys. It's a tough way to operate, but I guess it's the way that they have to do it if you want to maintain this quote unquote dynasty in OKC.
Yeah, it's they continue to be super interesting, and it's funny because like Washington now has a ton of assets, like just an absolute ton of assets with young players and former stars in Anthony Davis and Trae Young. Utah is the same kind of way. They've got so many guys in there now that it's almost like they could almost go any way with the second pick because they're kind of full at every position. They're not drafting for position. They're just drafting. Mm-hmm. Like teams have followed the OKC format, and now they're, Oklahoma won't be the only team with just like crazy amounts of assets, and the league's more talented than ever. So there's just going to be more and more teams with just an absolute just explosion of talent and assets. They almost need to expand the league just to thin out the talent a little.
Yeah, it's a good thing that we did. I think we got that announcement of we're getting those 2 teams. I don't think we know which teams yet, but we did. I think Silver said we are getting 2 more teams, which it's starting to become more and more necessary. I mean, it plays into this whole league, this parity league too. Is like, if you get more teams, you're gonna stretch out this talent. You're gonna have more parity, less dynasties, which is what they're building to keep for time being. Which I don't know how I feel about that, because on one hand, it's nice to see like a New York Knicks. I mean, maybe not for as a person. It's nice to see New York Knicks, but it is nice to see a New York Knicks like win a championship. It's nice to see like OKC win a champ. Like, it's nice to see like these teams that don't usually win championships be put into championship position. But on the other hand, it is nice to have like a real villain in the NBA, like a real team that everyone could root against. It felt like the OKC villainy was kind of like forced upon late in the playoffs. It wasn't like a true hatred that the national media had for this team, like they did in Miami, like they did the Warriors, like they did like those teams back in the day, when they're just like, oh, this team is just too good for anyone to compete. Like Boston in 08, like you're missing some of that at the same point, same time. I think we still need a little bit more of like that dynasty type team out there. Maybe we'll get it. Once one of these years. Someone will break the system. Other trades that have been rumored, I can't get away from this Trey Murphy stuff. That seems to be still just popping up. I know how you feel. This should not be a thing that's even like disgust.
His agent or something, like Trey must be not fully satisfied in like New Orleans, and that's got to be the only reason we keep hearing this, or it's simply just other teams want him.
Yeah, other teams might just really want, because like we talked about last podcast, like he is a player that has potential, good contract. We just don't know if he's truly a winning player or not, because he hasn't been put in that situation. We just know he's a good player. He could shoot, he could defend, and he's on a good contract. That's what we those are the things that we do know. But in terms of teams interested in him, I think the Hawks being interested in him after coming off of that trade for Aaron Wiggins is interesting. I think they've been floating around the idea of the number 8th pick for Trey Murphy, which, if you're the Pelicans, you're basically admitting another year is gone. Like, we're not competing this year.
Yeah.
Again, I think even as it stands right now with what they have, they probably aren't competing anyways. But is this something that would intrigue you? Like, is Trey young enough that you want to keep him around this core, or is he like aging out of this core and you just want to start completely fresh? And if so, why is Zion still on the team?
Yeah, so that's kind of the other side of why is Zion, why is DeJounte Murray on the team? To me, it doesn't make sense for the Hawks, if I'm honest. The Hawks, to me, are a team that needs like creation. They need more creators on the team. They've got, plenty of guys, if you will. They've got Dyson Daniels, they've got Jonathan Kuminga, they've got Jalen Johnson, they've got Onyeka Okongwu, they've got Nicholas Alexander Walker, they've got like a lot of good players, but they don't. They traded Trae Young, and he was
just
the creativity of that team. And so I think they need like a creator back. Like, to me, DeJounte Murray makes more sense in
back
in
over
Atlanta. Yeah, back to Atlanta than Trey Murphy does.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at their roster, it's probably going to be something of like Rashashe, Kuminga, CJ McCollum. Like, it's probably going to be along those lines of that's what you're trading. You just resigned CJ McCollum. You're not going to trade Dyson Daniels. You're not going to trade.
Yeah.
You're not going to trade Jalen. You're not going to trade Onyeka for. You'd be hoping to keep these guys.
Yeah.
You just did. Yeah, you did get another wing in Aaron Wiggins. You just traded for him. So you would be really wing heavy with that move, but.
I think when you're just trying to get Raptors vision 6'9", so
yeah, this is tough to have so many wings. I mean, you look at that now, and if they kept OG and Pascal with Scotty, that would have been. Is that better than what they have currently with?
Would Scotty have become Scotty? If OG and Pascal are there, though.
I think with OG he could have, but with Pascal, I think Pascal is really the one that kind of would butt heads with what Scotty wanted to do.
Yeah, Pascal needs touches. He's an offensive engine. Like, he makes a lot of sense in Indiana. Like that's
no, that works out for him.
That was a good move. That was good.
More traditional point guard
for him. Yeah,
more traditional point guard for him. Like, that made all the sense for him and his career. But yeah, looking at Atlanta, it's like, I don't know if you make this trade Murphy. I think I'm with you. I'd rather them get like a bona fide guard. And use that number 8 pick to do something with that if there is that person along the lines. But I guess they're just looking at it as like Trey Murphy's great contract, great player. We get him in our team. We pair him next to Jalen Johnson, and maybe we can get some magic happening on offense. And you have like all these defenders around him. And you just work out the playmaking later. But we saw in the playoffs, we saw in the finals, what not having a lack of a true playmaker with the Spurs, or not having a clear playmaker. I think you'd run into the same thing here with Jalen Johnson. He can play make. He's like a LeBron type, wing playmaker type. Gets lots of triple doubles and all that stuff, all that fun stuff. CJ McCollum can play make. Nikhil can play work. Dyson Daniels can play make, but that's not their bread and butter.
That's not their thing. Yeah.
So looking at it from that perspective, I think I would rather than spend those assets on someone who's a little bit more in that playmaker mold.
That's how I feel. That's how. Now, if you're just like trading, Jonathan Kuminga for Trey Johnson, then I think it works out.
Sure.
Or Trey Johnson, sorry, Trey Murphy. Because you're just there's a little bit of overlap with Kuminga and Jalen Johnson, like skill set wise, whereas like Trey Murphy would spread the floor a little bit more. But I don't think Kuminga gets you Murphy.
Yeah.
And are you
Shouldn't.
really
Definitely should not.
trading back that 8th pick that you sent out for Derek Queen?
Back to
You know,
them.
are you
Yeah.
trading back for that? So you're trading Trey Murphy and like a pick swap kind of thing, like to move up in the draft kind of thing. It just makes that whole trade even worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm sure we're gonna keep hearing about Trey Murphy. He's a hot name this offseason. Someone might pay like a Dane Bain. That's an interesting name. Desmond Bain price. For him, or like a Mikal Bridges price for him. Like
Yeah.
those guys went for like 4 or 5 picks. Picks are not going to be traded like what they used to be, I think, because of the new rules. But whatever a high pick count is in this new draft reform is, he'll fetch that at some point from some team who's desperate, who again just wants to win. I think that's it for like most of the trade rumors going on right now. I think, as we've mentioned before, a lot of this is being held up by what happens with Giannis. I think a lot of these teams want some of Miami stuff, so they're not going to make moves until they know what's going on there. I think some of these teams are wondering if they're going to be a Jaylen Brown destination down the line, so they're holding off on stuff there. So I think once we get more Giannis clarity, we will get more trades happening. So I guess we can hop into the draft now. So for the draft, is it a concise number one? Is it a consensus number one, or do you have? Or would you be looking at a couple players there at that number one pick?
I think you look. It's kind of like, I think those top 3 players are so close to each other that it's very much eye of the beholder. You know, every year there's like groupthink, right? Where okay, we together, the internet has decided that AJ Debance is going to be number 1, Darren Peterson will be number 2, and Cam Boozer will be number 3. But I don't think the teams operate like that, you know. I think those 3 players are pretty much all in the same tier, right? Debance, yeah, at his peak could be Tracy McGrady, but he could also just be Andrew Wiggins, which is a really nice player, right? Really nice player. Darren Peterson had a really weird year. Like, he's got all the talent in the world. He's kind of like James Harden as far as like body and like ability, but like completely different personality. Almost like the opposite personality. But is he tough? Like, is he going to play through things when it gets going? Is he a leader? Is he all those other things that go into it beyond just basketball? And then Cam Boozer may not be, you know, quite the athlete the other 2 are, but he's the most productive of the 3. He's college player of the year. You know, he played in the Duke program. He had the most like eyes on him all year long. He's the son of a former NBA player. Like, there's so much to like about Cam Boozer. And really, you've got a guard, you've got a wing, and you've got a big. And it's kind of, what do you want? What's going to make sense for you long term, right? You look at the construction of the teams, and it looks like it would be Debance, Peterson, Boozer, based off like, you know, Debance would fit in nicely on Washington's current team.
Yeah.
Peterson would fit in nicely on Utah's current team, and Boozer on Memphis's. But does it go that way? Hard to say. And then there's the question, you know, there are people out there who suggest that Caleb Wilson, who's slotted to go 4, might have the highest ceiling of everybody in the draft. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if it goes exactly how everybody sees it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the teams throw us completely different top 3, top 4.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this mock now. It's like Bulls forever seem to be at the 4th pick for whatever reason. They just seem to be always fourth.
Patrick
I think that's what
Williams,
they, yeah,
baby.
that's what they got, like Patrick Williams. Like, um, looking at the team fit though for Darren Peterson versus Cam Boozer, I wonder if Utah would prefer Boozer. Boozer did play for the Jazz too. Like his dad played for the
Yeah.
Jazz.
Yeah. And his dad works for the Jazz.
Yeah, so that would be, to me, that's an interesting one as well. And with the emergence of like Keontae George and Isaiah Collier last year, like those are two guys who played well. So you have two guards there already who are young and developing, and you've kind of put some time into them. So I wonder if, with that being said, and with the questions of Darren, like, do you just go with the Cam Boozer, who's a little bit more of a sure, you kind of know what you're getting there, versus with Darren, who could be like could be the best player in this draft when it's all said and done.
Absolutely
But
good. Yeah.
we have
He was the
no
best player
idea
in
to
high
tell that.
school.
Yeah, so we have no idea to
Yeah.
tell if that's going to be the case because of how he carried himself throughout the college year, with how he's carried himself through some of like the draft process. So it is really tricky to pin him on there. So I wouldn't be like you. I wouldn't be shocked if this like top three here shakes up in a little bit. I am interested to see what happens with Caleb Wilson beyond this draft, like how, like if he does pan out, because a lot of these, like this is like a Cam Reddish, like Patrick Williams, who we just mentioned, like this, he seems to fall into that type of archetype to me, which I remember Cam Reddish being voted by his peer group being the most likely to be a superstar out of that draft class, and that did not happen.
Yes.
So it's always interesting seeing these like wingish big wing guys get drafted who have potential, because I like either they turn out to be, like you said, Tracy McGrady, or they could turn out to be Cam Reddish, and you never really know until they come into the NBA. I guess also with the draft, is there any players in here that you really like as like a sleeper pick, who can like maybe not be picked in the top 5, but can be maybe a top 5 player in their draft class by the end of the season?
Oh, by the end of the season. I think that's really like there's so much like good talent. I think if like Darius Acuff for whatever reason falls out of the top 5, he could end the rookie season as a top 5 rookie. Darius Acuff is just like he is unreal offensively. He is I think it was James Harden who said he was an offense unto himself, and I feel Darius is the same way. The challenge with Darius is he's a little undersized at 6'2". He's got a good wingspan. I think it's like 6'7". He's, not a small guy. He's like 200 pounds. He'll probably be like 220, in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
But the word is he was like the worst defender in college
he was
basketball.
So
bad. But when you do have a profile like that, there is like a lot that can still happen, right? Like, he's going to draw a lot of comparisons to Jalen Brunson, and Jalen wasn't a great defender at first, but there was enough there that you could see the roadmap with Jalen Brunson. And by the time he played in the NBA finals, like, it's not like they were hunting Brunson throughout the finals. He was holding his own pretty good. He wasn't the best defender on New York by a mile, and he had a lot of help with Bridges.
But it wasn't a negative.
Yeah. Even Cat was good in the finals. So, and Cat forever, we were like, this guy can't defend, right? Like I was convinced the Knicks could never win because they had Brunson and Cat.
Yeah, that was my thing. It's like that 1-5 pick and
line.
roll. Yeah. That 1-5 pick and roll should be like murder. Like it should be like absolute destruction. But didn't matter. They played better defense. They had those things. And you mentioned people are going to compare Acuff to Brunson. I think he's comparing himself to Brunson as well. So that is kind of like the archetype that he's looking to fulfill as well. I think that's not a guy. I mean, it's a hard one to. You can't trying to be a guy like Brunson. Like so few guys work out like that. It is really hard. Like you have to be so and to have longevity as well. It's so hard to be that for so long. But the pathway is there, and if you have the talent, you could figure out a way to make it work. I am curious to see what happens with him as well, with the defensive questions that he had to face. We have guards all the time who have defensive questions. Steve Nash was a defensive question. Still 2-time MVP. So you can figure it out on that end. Sometimes, especially in this newer NBA, sometimes it's worth just getting the offensive talent in and trying to figure it out later.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it goes the other way, right? Heat guard Davion Mitchell, like he came into the league, best nickname in the league, off day, right? Um, but like the question was, will this guy ever figure out any offense, right? Will he ever figure out how to shoot and contribute offensively, or is he going to get played off the floor because,
Then he's scoring or something like
he's
that.
not scoring enough. So it goes both ways in that sense. It was the same with Kawhi. Came into the league as just a defensive wing, and he grew into like one of the greatest offensive players, right? So, yeah, it's gonna go both ways. Maybe they do say stuff like you can't teach size, right? And so when you're looking at a smaller guard with defensive questions, you can't just always go back to the measurables. Like I think Darius Acuff has decent measurables, but you can't just go back to those. But it is actually a draft full of smaller guards. It's almost a really good thing that Brunson is the champion, because it's going to mean that a lot of smaller guards are going to get maybe the look they deserve, less be just have prejudice that they're just smaller and it's the NBA kind of thing.
Yeah, now they could put out, look, this guy did it.
Yeah, he did it.
We can do it too.
I can be under 6'4" and be successful. Yeah.
I guess a final question here on the draft. It's gonna be a shorter one. We had a long one last one, so we can have a shorter one. We could space out. Is there any players here that you would like, maybe in that 10 to, because even a Cuff is still kind of projected to go in like that first.
Yeah, he could go as high as 5.
First,
probably
like,
as low as 7, right? So he's not really a sleeper. He's just most likely like an all-star at some point.
Yeah, if he maxes it out, like how would you compare him to like a Jeremiah Fears? Because I think that's similar questions.
I think Fears is probably
Fears has
a
more
little
size.
quicker. Yeah, Fears is a little quicker, maybe just a touch more size, but I think Acuff is heavier, and I think he's like Fears is like a really good like rim pressure because he's so fast, right? He's got that De'Aaron Fox quickness to him. But with a better 3-pointer. But I think Acuff has an even better shot than Fears. So I think that's actually a decent comp, the two of them. I do think Acuff has a little bit more of that like bet on yourself FU mentality than Fears has shown, but he's a Detroit guy, that just comes with living in that city.
Yeah, you get the grittiness. It's just embedded in you. But anyone from like that 15 to like 30th range who you say is kind of being slept on, who you think can break out?
It's a little tough to say because I think like 15 to 30, it's a really deep draft in that like I don't think there's a lot of like really big high upside swings. I think between like 15 and 30, you're getting a really solid role guy for your team, right? Like that's really what you're looking at. There's some like players towards the end of the draft that like I raise a Spockian eyebrow towards and be like, I'm intrigued, right? I look at the Knicks having 25 and 31, and I haven't backed this up. I haven't looked into this, but I remember listening to a Raptors podcast on the draft. And one of the things like Murray Boyles did for his team last year was he like led the team, if I'm not mistaken, led the team in like points, rebounds, and assists. And then there are two guys in this draft who have done the same, and it's Zuby Ejiofor and Joshua Jackson. And they're not guys that get like a ton of like buzz, but there's rumbles around them. Right. And if I'm like the Knicks and I can get both of those guys and they can fill out like my front court rotation between like my larger wings and my like smaller bigs, I'd go with those guys. I like that kind of like I was the absolute man for my team. and I did it all, which means like by the time I get to the NBA, if you need me to do one role, I can do it. If you
I
need
can
me
do
to do
that. Yeah.
multiple roles, I can do it. Right.
Which I think is
And
100% more valuable for a team like the Knicks, where
yeah,
now you're just looking to fill
yeah,
roles instead of like looking for your next like face.
exactly. Right. And so there's definitely guys like, even as a Raptors fan at 19, you know, there are draft people who say like the draft kind of falls off after 20. I don't even know if I agree with that. But like at 19, I don't have my eyes on like one guy, and I would just like I'll be able to talk myself into whomever they take, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't like it at first. Like if my
It's
initial
usually
reaction is like, why'd they go this way? Um, then it's probably gonna work out, because my initial reaction to Scotty Barnes was like, why didn't they take Jalen Suggs? Right?
yeah, that's was
I
a
was
lot of
completely
people's.
wrong.
Yeah.
By the end of draft night, I'd like watch my Scotty Barnes stuff, and I was like, oh, dang, I'm glad they took him over Jalen Suggs. But like I was wrong going in. Last year when they took Colin Murray Boyles, I was like, they have Scotty Barnes. Why would they take this guy? Why would they take another defensive guy? And by the end of draft night, I was like, okay, I'm wrong. And then by the end of this year, I was like, oh,
That's
this
why we
is the
drafted him.
future. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm now like, I don't even want offense. Like, just give me even more defense.
Don't give me. That's
So,
perfect.
they'll probably take like Abuka Okori, and I'll be like, there's not enough defense. And he'll be a star or something.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I'll be completely wrong.
That's how these things go. We only know as much as like we don't know anything until people actually put
No,
onto
the
the
front
court.
offices are way
Yeah.
better at this than we are.
But
Yeah.
even with them, it's like you don't. Once someone is going from the university system to an NBA system, you're turning from a college player to. It's a whole shift. You don't know what's going to happen from. There's been so many players that have been like, okay, this is for sure number one pick. Nothing wrong's going to happen with them, and something wrong happens. It's just you just never.
Yeah.
We truly will never know until they're actually out there on the court and playing basketball for us to get a true sense of what.
Greg Oden was supposed to be the guy, and then his body let him down immediately.
I said
and
nope.
Everyone's like, why didn't they take Kevin Durant? And it's like, well, actually, college Greg Oden was pretty incredible.
College Greg Oden wasn't even using his right. He was using his left hand, and he was still killing.
Yeah, because his right hand was broken or something. Yeah, and he was like dominant with his left hand, and he had only used it that year.
Yeah, and you can't find too many people that would have said at that time before that draft that drafting Greg Oden first was the wrong thing to do. Like that was 100%, 98% the right thing to do. It just didn't work out. you just don't know. You just don't know with these things. Anything else though before we head out? I think we covered mostly everything that happened in the last couple of days.
I do think like as a fan, the draft is the most hopeful. This is one reason I like positivity. Like I like a movie where like the good guy wins in the end and like good conquers evil. And there's so much hope when it comes to the draft. You get to like imagine all these things. And you might have your heart set on certain players, and you might have your heart set on like a certain approach you want your team to take. But just remember, like the draft is only just one part of it. Just enjoy it for what it is, and understand that like, like as a Raptors fan, I know we need bigs and guards. If we end up with a guard, then like the offseason, the trades and the free agency is about trying to find that big, right? And if it's a big, it goes the other way around, right? And just recognize that this is not the end of the offseason. This is the very beginning. And even if you're like a Utah and you go with like Cameron Boozer and you have too many front court players, just recognize that more things are about to happen. And, the team's got a plan. We don't work for the front offices. Just trust them a little bit and enjoy the ride, because it's the offseason can be a good time. It can be a little frustrating, but it can also be a really fun time. So just enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, I think that hits it right on the head. And with that, that'll do it for this episode of the NBA Hangout. You can follow me at BJAY93 underscore on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff at the NBA Hangout on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube as well. And you can follow Dave here whenever we do the podcast. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Peace.